Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive right into the story of a disappearing $5 bill, and how this tiny, seemingly insignificant amount quietly dictates two completely different financial futures over a 40-year timeline. Okay, let's just get right into it, because honestly, this isn't just about money. It's about time, routine, and those silent, invisible choices we make every single day that shape our lives without us even realizing it.
So, picture this. Place yourself at a convenience store counter. It's 6:40 p.m. and you're holding a $5 bill. Now, $5 is this exact amount that vanishes daily without leaving a mark. It's basically the price of not having to decide. You grab an energy drink that's sweating in your hand, and the cashier slides a scratch ticket across the counter. You scratch the ticket in the parking lot with a coin from your cup holder, and nothing. By tomorrow, you literally won't even remember this happened. That right there, that is the trap.
The choice before us is actually pretty clear. You can either buy that sweating energy drink and a scratch ticket that yields absolutely nothing, or you can walk out empty-handed and silently route that exact same $5 into a whole market index fund. Just one button on an app. No strong opinions required. Now, I know it feels slightly absurd, almost like planting a single seed in a massive empty field and calling it a farm, but it's really just about changing where that $5 disappears to.
All right, let's jump into this 40-year journey, starting with the early years. Age 25, the decision. This is where you set up a completely unremarkable automated daily transfer of $5, which is about $152 a month, into an index fund. You set it up so you never even feel the decision. You're 25 years old, and you barely even notice the money is gone.
Now, fast forward to age 26. After a full year, the market has only added a mathematically insulting $75 to your contributions. Seriously, you put in $1,825 of your own money, and while you slept, the market handed you just $75. Your balance reads roughly $1,900. It is so small it almost feels pointless, right?
And of course, your coworker, the guy who drops $5 a day on random daily pleasures, he honestly laughs at this return. He's quick to point out that he makes $75 in a single afternoon. And well, he's right. But he buys lunch out, a drink at the corner store, a scratch ticket when the jackpot gets loud, scattering his money across 100 tiny pleasures he will never be able to name later.
So here's the absolute crucial point. In year one, that $75 is entirely irrelevant. The invisible habit of not spending it at the counter, that is the actual victory. You just close your laptop and say nothing to your coworker. Because the real difference between you and him isn't the return on investment yet, it's a foundation that absolutely nobody can see.
Okay, moving on to age 30. You're 5 years in, and a friend mocks your boring fund. He's showing off a crypto coin that's up 400% in a single week, telling you to stop being a coward. Your boring fund makes in a whole year what his coin makes before lunch. But you've seen this exact promise before. The promise that a small amount becomes a massive amount instantly. It's literally the same promise as the scratch ticket in the convenience store parking lot. So you text back that you'll pass.
And wouldn't you know it, just like a scratch ticket, fast money disappears fast. 3 months later, his coin drops 90%, while you just quietly continue being early to bed and slow to rich. Your friend completely stops mentioning his investment. Meanwhile, your balance is sitting around $11,000, built entirely out of things you simply didn't buy. It is the math of every impulse at every register you've stood at, safely stored in an account with your name on it.
All right, let's move into the testing years, ages 35 to 45. This is where your habit faces real market chaos and major personal milestones, putting that daily $5 commitment through the ringer.
So at 35, the market crashes. It wipes out a third of your money in a matter of weeks. But instead of panicking or going to cash like your friend, you do absolutely nothing. You let your automatic monthly deposit buy the cheaper fund. You lose more money on paper in a few weeks than you earned all year at your job, which is terrifying. But it's quieter than a decision. You just don't open the app.
Now, boredom is usually seen as a negative, but here, we're defining it as the rarest financial superpower, the ability to sit still and buy the bottom, while everyone else is panicking. You're not brave. You were just bored enough to do nothing. And by the time the headlines finally agree it's safe to come back into the market, your automated habit has already scooped up the bottom when prices were at their absolute cheapest.
Hitting age 40, your balance reaches $52,600. This means, for the very first time, the account actually holds more money than the $27,000 you fed it. This is a massive tipping point. The entire endeavor changes character here. Before, you are pushing a heavy stone uphill. Now that stone is finally rolling completely on its own.
Then,
Your coworker gets laid off, and suddenly you realize that your unseen $5 a day wasn't just for retirement. It built a silent wall between you and absolute panic. Your coworker has nothing behind him, no cushion before that first missed paycheck hits. But you have a number sitting quietly in the background. You buy his lunch, and you say nothing about it.
Let's explore the acceleration years now, spanning ages 50 to 65. This is where the relentless math of compound interest completely takes over your life, and time starts doing all the heavy lifting. At age 50, despite all those flashy headlines claiming ordinary earners can't retire, you have $144,000, and it was built solely because you quietly refused a daily energy drink while working the exact same job as everyone else. You paid the same rent, you sat in the exact same traffic as the people in those panicked news stories. Literally, the only difference is what you did with $5 at 6:40 p.m. every single evening.
By 55, the math flips for good. Your account now grows more in a strong year on its own than you could possibly add by hand, even if you somehow doubled your $5 daily contributions. Your balance is hovering around $226,000. Out of that, only $55,000 was actually your money. The other $170,000 was simply time doing its work.
At this point, you've essentially become a passenger to your own balance. You're just watching a machine you built become vastly bigger than the act of building it. The $5 was the one thing in your life that never needed to be loud. It lives in a place no one looks, which is exactly how it had the room to grow so massively.
Okay, the final tally. Age 65. Exactly 40 years from the evening you decided to skip that scratch ticket. You are retiring. Let's look at the scoreboard.
Of your $531,000 final balance, you only ever contributed $73,000. Meanwhile, a staggering $458,000 is pure growth that you never worked a single hour to earn. Think about that. You never noticed it leaving, and you never watched it arrive. You didn't get lucky, you didn't pick a massive winner, you just let the smallest possible amount sit in the most boring possible place.
The reality is, this entire mechanism has absolutely no secret shortcut. The agonizing 40-year slowness was the exact price you paid for that massive growth, and almost nobody is willing to pay it. There is no version of reality where someone just hands you $458,000 faster. You paid in a currency that takes 40 years to clear, skipping a cold can and a piece of cardboard 40,000 times in a row. In the end, your coworker spent his $73,000 on thousands of forgotten daily comforts. But you get to enjoy those exact same comforts right now, backed by a hidden $500,000 fortune. He drank his $5, scratched it, and ate it. You both stood at the exact same convenience store counter for 40 years, but you have a balance sitting behind your life like a second person who has been working the entire time. So I'll leave you with this. Ask yourself, will you let your next $5 quietly vanish into the trap of daily convenience? Or will you use it as a door to decide the person you become while you aren't even paying attention? $5 is too small to matter, which is exactly why almost no one keeps it. But it's also exactly why it changes absolutely everything for the few who do.